Hello, everyone. I just picked this up, and I didn't even know they were making a game on a James Bond franchise. I was actually kind of surprised. So I saw this at the store. So let's get to the first impressions. So I've already taken off the plastic just because it's a waste of time. So here's our manual, and I gotta say this is actually one of the better manuals I've seen. Paper quality is really good. Instructions are pretty good. Haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna get to that later this week. I did find one thing that was a little odd that they have these little side notes about the characters and how they play, just randomly put in the book. So it is nice that it's close to how some of the mechanics, key mechanics, work with them. So that's a nice little feature, but it's also a little weird, especially if you're playing that character and you're looking for the abilities. You gotta flip through and find where it actually references them. But not too shabby. Short book, and I was kind of interested in like how they decided to pick certain Bond villains because I thought they were gonna go with the new franchise. And the index up front, so that's nice. So here's our punch sheet and our tokens. They do punch out very clean. It is still the standard cardboard though, so nothing impressive there. Let's see the board. So it's a pretty decent pants fold out board. Nice and square, clear, good imagery. We do have the score tracker up top though, so get a shot of that. And of course, Fantasy Flight style packing, where there's a lot of filler. So plastic cubes, plastic markers, bunch of plastic bags, custom dice. So let's see, 1, 3, 4, 2, and then we have two of these 007 sides. So I guess the highest you can naturally roll is an 8. More plastic baggies, silica. Ah, this is nice. So here we have an actual poker chip. So it is nice that the company did not skip out and give us a cardboard marker for James Bond. Uh, oh, these are the weird markers for play. I believe these are the villains, and your henchmen are squares. And then we have that. Alrighty. Anything else in here? Nope. Just extra packing. Alright, let's get to the villains. So first we have Blofeld. Then we have Emilio Largo. Rosa Club. Aristotle Christantos. I actually don't even remember that guy. And then we have Raul Sylvia. So, kind of interesting. We went from one of the very first franchises with Sean Connery, and I believe that is also Sean Connery. Russia with Love. I believe that is the new Daniel Craig era. So I know Raul Sylvia was in the Skyfall. So, kind of odd. But so far, I mean, the cardboard's actually really nice, and they did a really good job on it. No frayed edges, clean cuts. So that's really nice of them. As far as components, yeah, they're pretty decent and clean. I don't see any cast marks, so yeah, that might be one. So that's really nice. How about these? Yeah, they're decent. am kind of worried that that might break over time, so yeah, I need some special care for that. Yeah. I mean, I like the fact that the logo matches and it fits Specter, but that base, if someone plays with a little too much, it's kind of flimsy and it might break. Let's see about these. Here we have, I believe these are the mission cards. So I have 19 cards. Dr. No, From Russia with Love, Diamonds Are Forever, You'll Live Twice, Thunderball, Casino Royale, Skyfall, Quantum of Solace, and then Spectre. So, that's kind of neat. I guess these missions are specific to the franchise movies. So that's kind of neat. And there seems to be two of each. Well, no, Majesty's Secret Service is only one. But everything else seems like there are two of each. Are they different? Dr. No. Steal American Missiles, Eliminate MI6, Discard all. Yep, so those are different. So, got to read the rules to clarify if it's how the mission system works. And then we have these secret plans. So there's 30 of those. And the art is kind of light. They are small cards, but actually surprised that a lot of them are kind of sparse. That's a little disappointing, but it's not a deal breaker. So far, everything looks alright. Well, it's nice they cut these all out for you. It is a little flimsy, and I'm not exactly sure why the crease is that way. It's like doing it for a saddle stitch. So, number 1 may roll one die. Number 2 takes 1 resource at the start turn after the mission card is read. Number 3, bidding receipt covers 2 of their bid resources. And number 4, advances 1 space of the Spectre track at the beginning round. Are they the same on the other side? Yes. Okay. So I know there is a bid position on where you want to be, and number 1 always goes first. So I'm believing these are balance mechanics. I know this one's really strong. This game is between 2 and 4 players, so I'm not exactly sure if it's just 1 and 2 for 1 card per player, or 1, I don't know, placard? Whatever you call these. So that's kind of interesting. So far, it's not too bad for the price. I did pay about $60 for this plus tax, and it seemed like a simple game. The design mechanics of it were kind of what intrigued me, just because everyone wants to be James Bond. How many people want to be the villains? And honestly, I actually kind of enjoy the James Bond villains. They're cartoonish, but I mean, I grew up watching all the James Bond movies back in the day. So let's see. Can you be number 1? Specter, the 007 board game, is a competitive game for 2 to 4 players who take on the roles of iconic James Bond villains. Each player competes with each other to become Specter's number 1. No matter how hard they try, 007 is always there waiting to disrupt their plans and reveal their secrets. Specter, the 007 board game, features iconic weapons, locations, and characters from the James Bond films. I didn't really see any weapons, but okay. Build your own criminal empire. Strategically deploy agents around the globe to infiltrate key installations. Players will need to work behind the scenes to develop that nefarious plot to become 007's biggest threat. So, got me real interested because I love Evil Genius, Dungeon Keeper. old classic games where you took on the role of challenging heroes to come stop your nefarious plans. And I thought this was going to be like it. But so far, I'm not exactly sure. But I'm going to try it out, see how it works. Welcome back, everyone. So, I actually finally played Specter, and I don't hate the game. But the game has a lot of serious problems. And honestly, while playing it, I believe they actually came up with the game design before they got the IP, and that's why the game's so expensive. Because the IP is probably what they paid the most money for. As noted earlier, the game is kind of sparse and it doesn't really come with a lot. So, with that, let's get over the core mechanics of the game. So, in Spectre, you do take the role of one of the 5 classic James Bond villains, and they're all really weird. And your goal is to take your villain, so it goes in phase. Your villain's going to be the first, and when you place him in a region, you're actually going to get one of these effects at the bottom of the board. And no one can actually occupy the same spot as your villain except for Christopherson, I believe. He can move around and go to another part of the board with another player. During your second action, you're going to take the square base, which is your henchmen, and you can put them and you still get the same bonuses. You can also put them on your player boards, but there are certain locations that are annotated, like right here on Sylvia. This has to be the villain piece, so that has to be your first action. And if you want to put characters on your board, you have to put them either at the top where it's their special ability or a finalize action to unlock these lower tiers. So overall, it's a worker placement, and you're going to take these agents and you're going to put them. And at the end of the round, after you've placed all your characters, you're going to do what is the check majority. The rules are not clear, but from the way it seems, we believe that you go in majority order in scoring. And it does make sense because logistically you want these abilities with majority to move your cubes around so you can influence how you're going to move your guys. And they just kind of hang out. And then after that, the number 1 player is going to roll these dice. And whatever these results are is going to determine where James Bond goes. I don't think I've ever rolled a 1 and a 007 symbol. Oh, that affects player order. So that would be number 1. This mechanic is really odd and it feels really strong, but not. So the first player gets to reroll the 007 dice. So if that happens, that's really not that bad. But if you roll, and this happens to be player 4 now gets a visit from 007, and he's going to reveal one of his secret missions. And the secret mission card's kind of weird, because you can only do these secret plans, when you complete the bid for the mission. And this is where the rules get really bad and obscure. So, like this symbol, it's nowhere in the instruction manual. You actually have to look up under why this is always the first card, and then that explains it. And then there's a whole section on bids. So when you bid, you have to bid agents on a location if it's specific, and then how many resources every player bids. Players that bid resources, no matter win or fail, will get to draw one of these, and that's the most common way to get more secret plans. But it's the winning player who controls the secret plan that has to pay the effects to do the points. So, if this was not revealed by 007, and they meet these requirements, they immediately get 2 points. If it has been revealed, which means it's face up in your area, you only get 1 point. And then you move accordingly up on the track. So during the check majority phase, owning spot 2 is pretty good if it's uncontested, because now you get this ability right here that's move a cube anywhere. So if we're going in player order, we can now move a cube there, and we'll now have majority of 5. And then so on as 2. So you get these rewards that are noted right under these boxes. It is a little weird that they decided to shift the order halfway through, so it kind of throws you off. And I'm not exactly sure why they did that. Again, I think they designed this game for a generic IP, and then they were able to get the James Bond license. So, like I was saying earlier, when you get the points, you're going to take your player piece, and you're going to move it in this order. So, winning this unrevealed, move it up to 2 spaces. 1, 2. Red spaces are really neat because they're considered safe havens, and you cannot be moved back from a red space. And also, when you do a red space, you'll get to do a fast action. Or actually, a special board action, which includes the fast actions. So you can do this, or any of these unlocked slots. And that's really cool. So when you move to it or past it, you can activate it for free. So there's huge incentive to get to a red space or pass it. The last player to actually score in the same spot will go on top. And then depending where you are on this track, it will depend your numbered order. Which kind of is a problem because, well, if you're doing well, you'll always stay number one. But number one's main ability is that you get to reroll the 007 dice. And that can be really strong. But again, the player that ends up getting James Bond activated on them gets to choose where James Bond's going to go and kill everyone in a region. And then they're going to lock that region. So it actually gives them a huge payoff. So what I've learned is just randomly destroy regions. By taking control of a region and randomly annihilating everything on it, it actually is a lot better than giving a choice to someone that's going to do strategic play against you. But then, being in the number 2 spot isn't too bad either. Getting one resource allows a lot for engine building, and the 3 spot lets you bluff on bids all the time. Number 4 is a catch-up mechanic because you're trying to get points, and strategically how you play, it can be very good. But the game itself, like I said, I actually enjoy the game, but there are some caveats that we're going to get into. So, caveats. Characters. Blofeld wrecks the game. The fact that he'll always be number 1, and his abilities are actually really strong, he just wrecks the game, and I don't know why you'd create a character. I get the theme that he is always number 1. It's just doesn't transition well in a game that actually matters with positioning on scoring. When you can always choose how James Bond's going to roll around, it's actually pretty strong. But it's also not super great because of the way Bond works. Second problem. Silva wants schemes to lose. Blofeld wants schemes to work. And they're counteractive to each other, and it's just a weird dichotomy if you play with these on the board, because it's all in fact, I don't really remember why, if this is a theme where he wants to cause the missions to fail, but he gets 2 points when missions fail, so he's really a traitor in a teamwork game. I don't know if it's because they're feeding off that he went rogue to go after M, but it seems odd. Silva's setup is also a little bit weird in the upper corner because it doesn't actually explain why you get 10 of these pieces at the start of the game until we started reading the playthrough example. This is actually your pool of henchmen. So you only have a pool of 10. But the way it's worded kind of throws you off. It just says that you start the game with 10 agents, but it doesn't actually tell you what that pool is. Everyone else gets 20. Then another really odd thing, and still not quite sure how this works, I believe it's 4 because of this line, but some boards have 3 locations, 1, 2, 3. But then you have the split in the middle. Everyone else has that. And then some characters have this little linear progression arrow, which we took to mean that you have to unlock in order. The instructions aren't very clear on that. So I believe that you have to pay this cost twice to unlock each one of these sections. It's kind of weird and kind of vague. And then we have this. This mission card is really odd. So all you gotta do is apparently, have the winning bid. But the failure cost at the bottom is if you don't pick it off, you have enforcers not allowed. Look through the manual, look online, even send a reply to Morpheus Studios that makes the game, and not one answer. What are enforcers in this game? We believe that they're henchmen, because that makes sense if we go by what an enforcer is, but it's not very clear. So, for my initial first review and response for playing this game, I actually like the worker placement, I like the aspect. I think some of the characters really don't gel really well, but it has a solid idea. I also don't think that it should be the Specter 007 IP because this game costs way too much for what it is. Realistically, $30 in components probably would be fair. Because you only get a certain amount. You're always going to start with that card for your missions. There's only 50 of these. I mean, these are made out of cardboard, so you're not losing much. Everything is just cheaply made. They're not terrible, but value-wise, I mean, I'm adding my own trays and sleeves here. The dice aren't special. And the plastic pieces aren't super valuable. There's really no reason why this game MSRP is $60. You're literally getting close to a $30 game, and you're paying way too much for an IP. The game is very bare bones, has some neat concepts, and like I said, I enjoy the game, but you're not really getting a lot of value out of the game. The rules, these are by far some of the most atrocious rules I've seen in a game, because for some reason, which I pointed out earlier, it's kind of cool that they have these little side strategies on how you want to play your characters next to their mechanics. But then, a lot of the information that you really need to play the game is in this gameplay example chapter, which I was like, well, why did you put all that info there? And specifically, those characters will get mentioned. So, it's a poorly written rulebook. I actually wish, too, that they used not the movie art, but actually had their own art. But I'm guessing they blew all that money on that IP, and they had to use it. So, all in all, concept, I like it. I would say it's like a B to an A. Price wise, no, this is like a D minus. Like I can't believe the gall they had to charge this. I actually thought there would be more of a game. And then another weird thing is that the back of the game's description not really good to what the game really is. Said worker placement, vaguely, I can't remember off the top of my head. So the description, it's a huge stretch of the imagination, really. Because you don't really assemble devices. I mean, I guess you use resource to pay for stuff. You don't really spy on your opponents. You kind of blackmail your rivals, but not by much. Do you build a criminal empire? That's debatable. You just strategically deploy agents around the globe and you infiltrate. That's there. And then you don't really want to work behind the scenes. It's like who controls majority because you want it to succeed and win so you can play the mission cards to get points. So this is a very vague, broad wording that makes it sound like you're doing true mastermind stuff when it's really more of a strategic grand plan level, but micromanaging. So I really think that this is very misleading and very vague. But overall, it has a lot of bugs, but it also has a lot of potential. So, the game's not for everyone. It might not be for you. Me, I'm kind of indifferent right now. I see the potential of the game, and I don't know when fixes are going to come out, or if there will be expansions of this game, because the game is very sparse. And I don't know if it's going to do well at retail enough to actually push an expansion. So that's my review of Specter. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe and leave me a comment. Take care.